20 years ago, there were approximately 7 or 8,000 corporations, public companies in the United States. Today, there's half that number. Why? Because they have concentrated. Many have become fewer. The typical corporation is therefore much larger. The board of directors hasn't changed. That's still 15 to 20 people. And the major shareholders haven't changed much in number either. What has changed is the size of the employees, more and more of them relative to the board of directors that runs the business. Let me drive home what this means in economic language. Companies merge. Many become fewer. Bigger companies buy smaller ones. They get together. They do that in two ways. Sometimes a company buys other companies like itself. So many cigarette companies become 3 or 4. Many car companies become 3 or 4. That's called horizontal integration. The same company doing the same kind of thing, instead of competing with one another, they become parts of one another. The other kind of concentration is called vertical integration. That's when a company doesn't buy another one like itself. Instead, it buys either a company from whom it used to buy inputs. For example, a car company buys a steel company. That's a company buying something that is different from itself, something that provides an input to itself. Sometimes companies buy the thing they sell to. For example, car companies, again, selling to an independent dealer, can decide instead to buy that dealer. Then they own both the producer of the car and the seller of the car. We've had both horizontal and vertical integration. Let me give you an idea of what that has meant in terms of size. Okay, back in 1975, the 109 biggest corporations out of the 8,000 there were, got half of the profits. 109 out of thousands accounted for half the profits. In 2016, this had been reduced to the following stunning number. The 30 largest corporations together in this country, out of 3,500, have half the profits. That's called a highly concentrated system. Very few corporations have enormous wealth and enormous power that derives from that wealth at their disposal. And we all know how they use it, which makes sense once you understand this structure. If you're super concentrated and super rich, there's always a danger that the mass of your employees and even the mass of other smaller companies will resent your power and your wealth, will feel abused by it, will know that in any dealings with you, you have the upper hand because you've got the enormous wealth. And so there is danger that your situation will be attacked. One of the things these big corporations can do and do is try to control all that. They set up associations with other companies so that they have an ongoing relationship and can stave off criticism and attack. They spend a lot of money on public relations, so if I gave you the names of these companies, you're already familiar with them. You know those names because you've dealt with them in your life, and there's a lot of advertising out there to make sure you never forget them. And they also buy the politicians. They provide the experts that give the politicians their information. They buy the lobbyists who spend time taking the politicians out to fancy dinners and to explain what is wanted of them. They give the big bucks donations to their political campaigns to keep those politicians in office. And they have all the wealth and all the connections needed to do that. They will pay for publicity that makes the politician look good, or if the politician doesn't cooperate, they'll pay for the publicity that makes him or her look bad. You get the picture. The power of these corporations cannot be exaggerated. When I looked into my own understanding of the world, to give you a metaphor, a parallel, the largest corporations in America, the top 300 is really all we need to talk about, are like the kings of old and the court. a handful of people, very small, gathered around the big one at the top, together make all the decisions, formally and informally, on the golf course, at the restaurant, at the resort, or in the boardroom. It doesn't really matter. They run the economic system because they have the dominant wealth and power to do so.